Yeah, Father's Day, man.
Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of the Boost Desserts, Smoke&Meats. And we are your host. I am the Meat Viking, and alongside with my wonderful co-host.
This is Professor Porkloin.
Right. Now, a few weeks ago, back in the old YouTube comments, somebody said that we need to explain why we call ourselves what we call ourselves. And well, I thought it was obvious just by looking at me, but apparently I was fucking wrong. So many, many moons ago, Odin, Thor, and Loki all had a plan, and they decided that they would give my mother me. And now, for all of you who don't know this, I am burly, buff, and I have the attitude of the Meat Viking, but Loki decided to curse me and make me short as a dwarf. Not like somebody with dwarfism, but I'm on the short side for a male, especially being the way that I act. And so the Meat Viking was born. Somebody like I would raid an entire village with nothing but a longsword if you had really good T-bones. And I will use that T-bone as my shield to go raid another village.
That is a crazy origin story for the Meat Viking.
Yes.
I guess for mine, Professor Porkloin, it really was the Meat Viking just being a crazy brainchild that he is, because he says some wild shit. But I guess some of it is the fact that I do have a doctorate and I do like knowing history of things, and I kind of learn a little bit more about some stuff. So if you haven't noticed already, I mean, I bring in some of those key elements here into the podcast. And I think the Meat Viking just said, hey, man, this is pretty fucking funny. We're going to call you Professor Porkloin. Mm-hmm. And in earlier episodes, I did have Dr. Chef Hubs along with that title, but I've kind of just been embracing the Professor Porkloin, name. So it is Dr. Chef Hubs as well, but Professor Porkloin is kind of the one for the podcast. So I think that's a little bit of an easier origin story than yours, but it's kind of basically that's it.
Yeah. Well, and like here's the thing too, like Dr. Chef Hubs, there ain't nothing wrong with that. You are a doctor. You are very culinarily efficient.
Yep.
And you are a husband to somebody.
Yes. So, I mean, those three are true.
But Professor Porkloin, when I think about it, I think of somebody who was like taught in a lab. And when I do the little YouTube descriptions on some of our videos, especially if I feel like it's one that I learned a lot of, I like putting in there that the professor dropped some doctoral level knowledge on the foodies.
Yes.
And I don't think that's a lie. I mean, we don't need a thesis statement to go with it, but a couple Google searches and you can tell we're right.
Exactly. But I guess that kind of leads to the next question, man, is what's in the cup?
All right. Today? So going off the new Belgium kick that we were, I got a little something called Heavy Melon.
Oh, all right.
It is a watermelon style IPA. Watermelon ale, my bad. Ooh. Sorry, everybody. It is 5% alcohol by volume. It's refreshing. It's the only note I have on that. It's not good, not bad, not even mediocre. It's just refreshing.
You know what? One of the local bars I went to the other day actually had something pretty similar. It was called Hell or High Watermelon.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a wheat beer, and it was refreshing. It was a little bit on the lower side. I think it was only like 5%, something like that. And it you got more of the watermelon flavoring at the end, but you got some of that wheat in the beginning. So it was, I would say, yeah, it's pretty refreshing is basically what it is, with a little hint of watermelon.
I will admit though, these are like I said, they're not good, they're not bad, but they're refreshing. But they tend to disappear rather quick. I think somebody, maybe the Invisible Man's in here drinking with me, but I might need a refill during this episode.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, I am going back to the original here, Professor Porkloin, with our original cup that we have, and I'm doing some rum and Sprite.
Ooh.
So changing it up a little bit,
So
but
basically, you're a mint leaf away from a mojito.
not that kind of rum though.
Oh,
I'm using spiced rum. I mean, I guess you could do that. I could throw some mint leaves and a little bit of some lime in it, and then essentially call it a mojito.
I personally like my mojitos with spiced rum.
I think it's pretty good, but I like my mojitos with the white rum slash little extra soda water.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, went the original. Going back with the cup.
there you go. Yeah, I need to bust the cup out again soon. I just haven't had the inspiration to drink something that big because that's a beefy cup. You know,
Yeah, it is. But I mean, some of those beers that you drink are 16 ounces.
that's true. And speaking
So
of the cups, while we're on topic, those cups are done by Saucy Decal Diva. She has a Facebook page. Those of you who would like to get a cup done by her, doesn't even have to be through our design. Find her on Facebook. Let her know that you came here from the BDSM podcast. And who knows, maybe y'all can work out a deal.
yeah,
If you do get a cup like that, depending on how many you sell and how many you order, we get a kickback. It's a small amount. And in that kickback, a percentage of that goes to our person who designed our logo. Chai Cat, you can find her on Facebook, Instagram. And I want to say there was another source too, but sorry, Chai Cat, I'm forgetting your links. But she's the one who did our lovely logo for us with a donut and the ball gag. So
yeah.
looking for submissions, I believe she is open as well.
We're going to be once when we get enough followers, we're going to be finding uh, a new design. We'll stick with the donut and the ball gag, but I think we had some ideas of the pig all tied up, right?
Yep.
So we'll see how that kicks out whenever we get enough followers. We have our goal. We haven't reached it yet, but
Yep.
it will happen.
Yeah. And also, like another goal we were talking about, probably after we hit the goal with the second design, is getting outside of mugs and the big
Tumblers.
thank you, is actually getting t-shirts and stuff.
Yes. So we will see in the future how that plays out.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess we can continue on with a safe word for today. What do you think would be a good one for Father's Day?
I think the only appropriate one is the one that could possibly end Father's Day, and that is mom.
I was thinking daddy or something like that. I think.
No, no, I'm going to be referencing my own father enough in this. I don't feel like calling him daddy. I am almost 31. That's awkward.
But it also might be awkward for people that actually call their significant other that in the bedroom too. So
I don't know. Like, that's a thing. I know it's a thing. I know people who like feet are a thing. But goddamn.
doing the daddy.
Doing the
All right. Well, I guess mom is the way to go.
Yeah.
So I'll start off with a little bit of some history here about Father's Day. So it basically happened in Spokane, Washington in the early 1900s.
So hold on. You're telling me that Father's Day is younger than Mother's Day.
Yes, but not by that much though.
But
One
like,
of the reasons why this lady who actually wound up proposing Father's Day was because she learned about Anna Jarvis and Mother's Day and felt like it was appropriate to do the same thing for guys as well.
but here's the thing though. If we go back to Mother's Day, back when I believe you said it was either the Greeks or the Romans, right?
Yes, I mean, but in the U.S., it wound up being a little bit sooner than that. But yes, the Greeks and Romans did appreciate moms for a while.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's what you get though when your father figure of all the gods is Zeus. If anybody who knows anything about mythology, Zeus is kind of a d-bag.
Yes, yes, he is. Put his wiener in just about anything.
Yeah, honestly, like that's 90% of the stories there is. Um, what would happen if I put my wiener in this and then Aphrodite has a reaction?
Basically.
Oh, sorry, Athena. I believe that's Zeus's wife. Yeah, because Aphrodite's like goddess of love, beauty. Da, da, da. Sorry, you're the doctor here.
Well, anyway, it was proposed in 1909. The first celebration was in 1910, and it was at a YMCA. And again, this lady, Sonora, she wound up hearing the whole reason why we do Mother's Day and hearing a sermon about that in 1909, and figured fathers should have the same holiday honoring them. So what was funny is that in her pitch to the pastor, because it was going to be at a church, she initially said, "Hey, let's do this on June 5th because that's my father's birthday." And the pastor was like, "Look, I don't have enough time for that because it's basically like this weekend, and I need to come up with a sermon. So let's do it as the third. Give me a couple weeks. Let's do it as a third week in June." And then it was deferred to that point. It honestly didn't have a lot of success initially. Where at some point this lady she stopped promoting it because she went to school for a while, and then it kind of just picked back up again around 1938. And then from there, it wasn't until the 70s is when it was actually recognized as a national holiday by Nixon.
Oh
So
wow.
there was a couple other things that were kind of in between that, where they celebrated some of these, they celebrated dads, but it wasn't really a holiday. And then it was like, hey, we're going to propose this to Congress, and then we'll see what happens. And it just didn't get anything. Really, in the 60s, Lyndon B. Johnson issued a proclamation saying that the third Sunday is going to be Father's Day, but it wasn't made a law until the 70s. So we're the fathers honoring fathers is a little bit later than doing the moms.
Yeah,
Moms
only by a
already
few
went-
hundred years.
yeah, but even in laws though, even by at least 40 years
Yeah.
before, I mean, Mother's Day was already put in at that point. So um, it's really interesting to see how the history of that, how it started from hearing about Mother's Day, and this lady was like, "Hey, we should do the same thing for the fathers," but everyone's just like, "Nah, fuck that. They don't need anything."
Yeah. Yeah, she
And then it
probably gets laughed at like all the men's rights activists anymore.
but typically on Father's Day, I mean, there's usually some sporting events that go around. I know NASCAR for a while was doing stuff on them. I think there was the NBA Finals at one point was around Father's Day. I think there's a golf tournament. I think the U.S. Open is around that time. So for Father's Day, essentially, Dad gets to watch a bunch of sports.
Yep.
So hopefully you can enjoy a good Father's Day with your father. But what are some foods that you happen to do for Father's Day?
So I'm doing this in homage to my dad. My dad loves fishing. Always tried to take me whenever he could. Um, and in fact, there's like a video game on fishing that we bonded over.
Okay.
Um, and so, but my dad is a very much a catch and release kind of fisherman. However, I thought an appropriate thing to do would be to do a catfish dinner, as catfish isn't really something we covered,
Yeah, it's been a while since we
and
even covered anything like that.
it's something that like I could tie into my dad, as you know we would go fishing all the time, and so one moment here, we have a recipe for a crispy southern fried catfish, described as simple is best, and the southern fried catfish is no expectation or no exception. Easy dinner recipe requires only a handful of pantry staples. It's ready in less than 20 minutes. Um,
Now, when you were fishing with your dad, and you said he's basically a catch and release person, but did he keep any catfish for this,
So
or
he
would you
didn't.
go out and buy catfish?
It's not like that. Dad growing up had a couple of trophy fish, but at the place that we would fish a lot, it wasn't uncommon for us to go night fishing for catfish.
Okay, and did you keep any of them at all, or?
No, like I said, where we would fish, it's generally catch and release. Um, and also a lot of the parts kind of in Ohio, there are very few areas where you want to eat the fish out of there. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
However, like this is a way to kind of merge something I did with my dad with food as well. And if you were in a spot where you could get catfish, catch them, and then like be good to catch and, you know, have that clean, safe option, because especially with catfish, there's a weird thing that happens. And like if you think of like a cow or like any kind of meaty animal, bigger is better for the most part because you know you're going to get your more fats from that. So like your steak choices are going to be have more marbling through them. Catfish is kind of the opposite. You want like a smaller to a medium sized catfish, otherwise you're going to get almost like a weird taste because they're very much bottom feeders.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, if it's living at the bottom of where the catfish dwell, it might not be the best things. That being said, though, catfish is a popular source of protein that is low in fat and low in calories. And it's one of the 5 most commonly eaten fish that are low in mercury and high in omega-3 fatty acids. And farmed catfish is both sustainable, clean, and safe seafood option.
Now, some of them catfish can get up to be freaking huge, man. I've seen some videos online of them freaking going noodling, where they
Yep.
basically pull those bad boys out with their hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I can totally see that, but I don't know if I want to eat one of those bad boys or not.
That's what I mean. Like if you get a catfish that's that size, that's too big for me. Ideally, like catfish size is anywhere. I would say between a foot to 2 feet long.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and for this recipe, going back, you're not going to need much. You just need a couple of catfish fillets, some cornmeal, seasoned salt, pepper, and garlic powder, milk, vegetable oil, and butter. Um, Combine the dry breading mixture in a shallow dish. Pour milk in a separate dish. Soak the catfish in milk. You got to dip the fish in there to get it wet and shake off any excess. Then you're going to put that into your cornmeal mixture, coat it on both sides, and then you're going to brown that fish in a hot skillet with oil and butter until crispy and golden on both sides. Um, and really, like that's all you need to do. You don't want to get it in there too long. You don't want to burn it. You just really want that nice crispy golden brown.
So I got a funny story that goes back with my dad when I was a young one. Um, so my dad and I used to go fishing as well, and we would do catfish because it was one of the main ones besides trout and everything where I grew up. And the funny thing is, I was probably like maybe 5 or 6 at the time. So I had those denim wash jeans, and I had a hat and like this leather jacket. And my dad and I went fishing, and every time I would cast it, right, I would throw it out there, and I just let it sit. And at that point, it was old school fishing with the bobbers.
Yep.
I don't know if a lot of people use bobbers these days, but I definitely did as a kid. And it was essentially every time I cast it out, I would get one and I'd reel it in. My dad spent so many times throwing everything out, got nothing. And I wound up catching 5 catfish and he caught 0. And
Oh,
at that point, we wound up taking those home because they were long enough and everything. And we wound up cooking it too. But there's a picture floating around in one of the photo albums at my parents' house of me holding one of them up with 4 other fish on the floor, just kneeling down, smiling because I got 5 catfish and my dad got none that day. I don't know if he was too happy or if he was happy the fact that I got 5 of them, but that was definitely one of those funny, funny catfish fishing stories.
Right.
It kind of goes along with what you did with your dad.
Yeah. So, going back to the recipe real quick, for those of you who are new to cooking fish, the recommended time on this is about 5 or 7 minutes to the side. You're going to know when it's done, when it becomes opaque and flakes easily with a fork. And then if you want to go down and start learning your pairings, I would recommend throwing a lemon wedge on the side. People who like tartar sauce get that, but like hush puppies, French fries, biscuits. Another popular one is some collard greens and coleslaw. And there, right there, you got yourself dinner.
Sounds like a solid dinner.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing that I like to do that I didn't see on this recipe, I like to add Cajun spices to my catfish. Give it that extra little kick. I think it pairs really good. So if you were to like, when you're seasoning your fish, coat it in Cajun seasoning on both sides before you do your dipping process. That's going to bring out an extra bite and get a lot more flavor going in that catfish.
Yeah, I'd almost feel like putting it in the breadcrumbs or whatever you dip it in would also help. But I think you're right. Probably putting it on the meat itself before you dip it would kind of lock in some of that seasoning.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, I know that one of my things that my dad definitely did, especially around Father's Day, was doing some breakfast stuff.
Oh, okay.
One of the main things that he would do would be like an egg scramble.
Mm-hmm.
So you get basically your big pot, and he'd cook up the bacon and the sausage, and wound up dipping it within the eggs and basically letting it cook, and then kind of just scrambling it all up, and then serving it in that dish. That was a big one. But the other thing that he would do, and also do a lot of times actually, would be biscuits and gravy.
Ooh.
So he'd cook up pork sausage and let that get all nice and brown and keep all the juices in there, and then he'd throw in the cream and whisk it into it and let that flour up, and then put that right over some home baked biscuits. And that was usually a pretty big thing that he would do around that time, and even other times too. But if I can think of one thing that I definitely know and remember, is definitely biscuits and gravy was a pretty good staple for that breakfast food.
Mm-hmm.
So
Gotta love you some good biscuits and gravy too. Such a staple.
Yeah, he'd throw a nice little pepper in it too to give it just a little bit of a kick.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely a great breakfast item, biscuits and gravy.
Mm.
So I'm trying to think of other things that is typically Father's Day that's more related to me. I know when we're looking at meats, one of the other things would be a London broil, and that's basically a cut of steak. And I mean, my sister loved it. I loved it. It would be one of those things that my dad would grill it all up and get it that nice mid-rare medium flavor with the style, and pair that with some mashed potatoes.
Oh, yum.
So, did you happen to have other things that your dad enjoyed or that he liked?
So, for those of you out there who don't know, my dad is what I would describe as a Mountain Dew fiend. Dad loves his Mountain Dew. Like, and he drinks it by like the 2 liter, right? Like he refers to like the normal size Mountain Dew that you get as shot glass Mountain Dew. Like Papa loves his Mountain Dew. And so I started looking to do um like different pairings or to maybe try and cook something with Mountain Dew. And I'm doing this directly through the Mountain Dew website, right?
They have recipes that you can do.
They do.
Well, that's something new that I learned.
Yeah, today we learned, kids.
What recipe would you make with Mountain Dew?
I'm sure you could use it as a glaze for like a sauce base. Here we go. Mountain Dew wing sauce. Boom.
I don't know. Well, you know what? I could, depending on the flavoring, I guess a wing sauce would be okay.
All right. So your ingredients here: 1 pound chicken wings, party style, whatever that means. For your flour mix, it's a teaspoon of garlic powder, teaspoon of onion powder, teaspoon of table salt, 1 cup of all-purpose flour. So far, pretty basic stuff. Now in our sauce, that's where we get these the little mixing ups here. You're going to need 1 lemon that's been zested, 1 lime that's been zested, tablespoon of lime juice, tablespoon of lemon juice, 1 12-ounce can of Mountain Dew, 2 tablespoons of jalapeno sauce. I'm not sure if this is a typo or not, but right underneath that has 2 tablespoons of jalapeno sauce again. 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 1 tablespoon cold water, 4 drops of neon green food coloring, 1 tablespoon or 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of crushed black pepper. Combine all of the ingredients in the flour mix. Then with a towel, you gently pat the wings and dry and press them into the flour mixture, coating them entirely. Arrange on a large plate so they don't touch. Heat oil in a deep pan or a large saucepan to 300 degrees. Fry your chicken wings in the hot oil until they're nice and crispy. It takes about 9 to 12 minutes. They should no longer be pink at the bone and the juices should run clear. When the thermometer is inserted into the thickest part of the meat, you're looking for a temperature of around 165. Now we get to the fun part, the sauce.
Okay.
Take all of those ingredients into a boil. Let everything cook for 10 minutes on medium heat. And then in a mixing bowl, combine cornstarch and cold water. Add this mixture to the sauce for more consistency. You're going to come behind that with your green food coloring and salt. And then you're going to dip the wings into that and finish with your crushed black pepper. Now, Mountain Dew is known as a lemon lime kind of flavored soda, but it's got that green coloring in it. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that these wings are going to be similar to of a lemon pepper type of wing that you would find super popular in Atlanta, and then add like a hint of lime on top of that.
I would probably say close to that. I don't know. I'm curious to know how that would go out and taste.
Right.
You know?
So, but for breakfast, another recipe that I'm seeing is Mountain Dew pancakes.
Oh man.
Yep.
Okay.
So for your pancakes, it's 2 cups of buttermilk complete pancake and waffle mix, 1 cup of Mountain Dew electric green food coloring. For your syrup, you're going to do 2 cups of granulated sugar, 1/2 cup of corn syrup, and then 2 cups of Mountain Dew divided. And then how you're going to cook this is you're going to heat a skillet over medium-low heat or set your electric griddle if you have it to 375. Place a teaspoon of butter or oil on the griddle. Once the butter foam subsides or the oil shimmers, this is how you know it's time to start going. And then in a medium-sized bowl, combine the pancake mix in 1 cup of Mountain Dew. If you feel up for it, add a few drops of the electric green food coloring. It's not necessary, but it's more fun. So like if you've got I don't even know if I would feed this to kids, to be honest. But if you've got kids that want to eat like green pancakes, you could do this.
Dude, I would think that it's better just to make regular pancake mix and just use green food dye like you do on St. Patty's Day or something.
Right. But after that, ladle batter for each pancake onto your griddle. Make them the size we like. Turn your pancakes over once you see bubbles start to rise. Just heat as necessary and cook until they're lightly brown. Now for the syrup, which is where that Mountain Dew is going to come in. Bring your sugar, your corn syrup, and 1 cup of Mountain Dew to a boil on the stovetop. Stir until the sugar dissolves. Turn off heat once the mixture reaches 230 degrees, and drizzle that on top of your pancakes.
I just don't think that would be good either.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Mountain Dew is a very syrupy soda or pop, wherever you're from, however you want to call it. But yeah, that's next level even for me. I would make it for my dad because my dad loves Mountain Dew, but holy fuck.
See, my dad loves beer. So, I mean, I'd be able to probably do like a beer batter something or do like a beer pancake, something like that. Just use beer as the base instead of water.
Yeah, do Yingling syrup instead of Mountain Dew.
I don't know about that one.
Probably be healthier. Probably fucking be healthier.
Although I do have to say that one of my favorite quotes of my dad is nothing bad for you can live in beer.
You know, that's actually fair.
So he's always like, yeah, he'll be all right. You know, if it's a couple days past the expiration date, be like, yeah, nothing bad can live for you in beer. I'll just drink this.
Right. So I think there's something that we need to bring up here, and that is coffee. Now, I was in the Scouts, and I've done a lot of camping in my younger days, and I would rather come across a Kodak bred with a feral wolf and a little bit of polar bear than I would with any dad without his morning coffee when he's camping.
I don't even think without camping.
Right.
Just any dad without his coffee in the morning. Grumpy bear.
And for that, we're going to go with Death Wish coffee. Why? Strongest coffee in the world. It's got a strong, intense flavor, but it's not bitter. It's fair trade, organic, and all natural. Boost your energy levels fast. And like, I'm telling you, they're going to get rid of defibrillators and they're just going to start giving people that are flatlining this shit. All right. Anytime, any day you need to increase your performance, you can do it with just 1 cup and it'll help you revive and enhance your mind and body. Because who can sit still when your mind's going 1,000 miles an hour?
You know what that reminds me of? Did you ever watch Futurama?
Oh, yeah.
You remember when Fry tried drinking, what was it? How many cups of coffee in a day? It was 100, I think.
Yeah.
And they had the counter going on, and then he finally hit 100, and it was like he was going so fast that nobody knew or saw him or what was going on. That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah. I've actually had some of Death Wish coffees before. One of my favorite guitar players, Zach Wilde, has a deal with them where they have the Odin Force blend, which is like a vanilla Java based blend. Super good. And yeah, this Death Wish coffee, if you need to get up and get going, this is where you're going to want to go.
I guess for Father's Day, you could also just give him one of those old cans of Folgers.
Oh, God, yeah.
So that he can use that as to hold all his freaking nuts and bolts in afterwards.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if your dad has some of those, but I know my dad does.
Oh, yeah. Like, they don't have the junk drawer that married men have. They have the junk Folgers can.
Yeah. I think every garage from anybody who was born in like 1940 to 1985 or 1990 has that.
Oh, yeah.
So that's pretty funny with the Folgers. Just chink, 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 chink. Oh, what do you got in there? Just some nuts and bolts.
Jeez. This is the only thing I'd do. Fucking chunky cat.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's one thing that people have probably recognized from ours is that neither of us have any
Offspring.
spawns. We have animals that we are
Yes.
basically, fathers to. I have three myself. I know you have a couple. You have two cats, right?
4.
You have four now.
Yeah.
Don't you have an iguana or a
Salamander.
salamander? I knew it was one of those reptiles.
Yep. Well, it's not even a reptile, bro. That's an amphibian.
That's true.
We're gonna have to revoke your doctorate.
It's not in biology. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, I know. Uh,
So I guess either way, just celebrate Father's Day. Celebrate however you guys would let Dad. Maybe let him watch sports. Let him cook whatever, or cook him something, and then just leave him alone for the rest of the day. I think that's what Father's Day is usually all about. Let him sit in the lazy boy.
right. Now, I don't know if you got something to wrap this up, but I do have a dessert for people to try.
By all means, go for it.
Give me 1 second. I thought this was the recipe for it. It's not. So this is something that you can take to Thanksgiving as well.
Okay.
But I tried to do stereotypical man, like father, and I went with a bourbon style pecan pie. And the name of this is the Utterly Deadly Southern Pecan Pie. And your ingredients are pie crust, tablespoon powdered sugar, 1 large egg, 1 1/4 cups of firmly packaged light brown sugar, 1/4 cup of butter melted and cooled to room temperature, 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, 1/2 cup of chopped pecans, 2 tablespoons all-purpose flour, 1 1/2 teaspoons of bourbon. Yeah, you're gonna need more bourbon in that. Just saying. And then 1 1/2 cups of pecans halved. And essentially, you're gonna make this like a pie. Just put everything in there, and then you're gonna bake that at 325 for 30 minutes. Then you're gonna reduce your oven temperature to 300 and bake for 30 more minutes. Turn off the oven, and then let the oven open, and turn off your oven. Let the pie in the oven. Close the door for 3 hours. So it's kind of a long one, but I think that would be a nice night treat to get going, get the whole house smelling nice for Pops, and then when his game's finished or whatever it may be, come home to that.
Sounds like a pretty good dessert, man. I'd be pretty happy if I came home to that. Either way.
Right? So, kind of a shorter episode today, everybody. Unfortunately, it's not us saying this, but Dad's kind of got the shit end of the stick.
Yes, I think so.
So
they'll be all right with the shorter episode.
right.
So, well, I guess we can. I can take us out on this one. So, for all the foodies out there who have fathers, throw something in the comments. What's something that you do for your dad on Father's Day? You get them tools. You make them some food. Give them some beer. Whatever it is. But this has been Professor Porkloin, and we're signing off with my co-host here,
the Meat Viking.
And we look forward to getting back to the next episode.
You know it. Later, everybody.